Hey, it's Michelle coming to you with some kitchen inspiration. Continuing my Easter prep, I'm making stuffed mushrooms for appetizers. So the first thing I do is I put 2 tablespoons of butter into my 5-quart Brilliant sauce skillet here, and I'm going to let that melt. This is 11 inches across and 3 inches deep. Okay, so first job is to take the stems, all the mushrooms out, and I started doing that, but I just left a few for you guys to watch. So when you do this one's little, so it's kind of hard. If it doesn't all come out, I use a scooping tool. This is an old Pampered Chef tool called the Core and More. But you want to hold the mushroom on all the sides before you do it, because otherwise it'll crack, and you don't want to crack your mushrooms because you got to stuff those later, right? And you can see I bought stuffing mushrooms, and you can see there's a great variety in the sizes. I just look for a package that has mostly big ones. That one's got a lot of room to stuff, which is nice. All right. So it doesn't want to move. So this one's probably going to need to be scooped out a little. You can see some of the stems stayed in there. We're going to use the stems for the recipe. Okay. So there's all my stems. I'm grabbing my trusty food chopper, which I had already used once, so it's still got some onions in there. And I'm going to chop up these stems nice and small. You can see when you do your food chopper, you can hit it a couple times and get big pieces. Like if I was making pizza, I would do that size, or soup. But I want these rather small, so I could keep hitting until the food's almost invisible. Doesn't need to be quite that small, but I gotta tell you a funny story while I'm doing this. So my oldest child did not like mushrooms her whole life, right? She was completely anti-mushroom. Basically, she didn't like what they look like, right? So what she didn't know was she always ate mushrooms because I did this with them. I chopped them up and I put them in recipes. I just didn't tell her they were in there. So it's not like she was allergic. She was just visually averse to them, So when she became an adult, she decided to be a vegetarian. So one of the things she said was, I need to learn to eat mushrooms. So she went on this quest. I'm gonna do an onion next. She went on this quest to teach herself to eat mushrooms, and it actually was very easy. So once she got to the point where she was eating mushrooms, then I told her the truth, which was, Rachel, you've been eating mushrooms your whole life. You just didn't know they were there. But because she had been eating them her whole life, she wasn't adverse to the taste at all. She just had to get over what it looked like. So that's kind of funny. So you can do the same thing with your kids, like with onions, anything that they're not allergic to. It's okay to sneak it into their food to get them used to the flavor. Makes them better eaters later. Okay, so I'm gonna chop my onion up also. Perfect timing because my butter is all melted. What did I do with my spatula? I forgot to get one out. I need to get one out. Okay, I didn't get a spatula out. I have a million spatulas in my drawer and I didn't take one out. I used my Christmas one. This was the one that was out at Christmas time. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm gonna put these in here. To my skillet. I got it on like medium high. All right, the next thing that has to go in is a couple cloves of garlic. Fresh garlic makes such a huge difference in your recipes. You don't have to cut it in half, but I like to do that. Take out my little Barbie hairbrush cleaning tool. Pop these in there. You don't have to peel them, which is nice. Shoot them out the front here. Look at that peel, comes right out, so easy. This one's still in there. That one's out of the peel. And cancer actually garlic actually fights cancer and heart disease. So it is worth it to add some fresh garlic to your food, to your cooking. And it's really got to be fresh garlic. Garlic in a jar does not do the same thing. It loses those compounds that fight things. So you got to use the fresh garlic. Plus it makes your food taste good and it makes your kitchen smell lovely. Okay, So we're gonna put the garlic in here. So right now I've got garlic, onion, and the stems from the mushrooms all chopped up in here. I'm just gonna get those working a little bit. All right, so the next thing we're gonna wind up putting in is a half a bar of cream cheese. So I'm gonna open that up and cut off half. So that's gonna go in there as soon as that stuff is ready. Okay, so the next step, let me move this out of the way for a moment. The next step on this recipe is to take my rectangular baker, stoneware rectangular baker, which is 9 by 13 size. Oh, I made a giant mess in the microwave. That was my fault. I melted some butter in my 1 cup prep bowl, which I spilled half of it. And then I'm gonna grab my silicone chef's baking brush, and I'm gonna take my mushrooms and I'm gonna just butter them on the outside, okay? And put them in this baking dish. Now, what I'm doing with these mushrooms is I'm actually gonna put a cover on them, one of our silicone covers, and I'm gonna put them in the fridge overnight, and then tomorrow after church, I will bake these for appetizers. That way it's all done. I don't have to do all of this stuff. I can just put them in the oven and we can eat them in 15 minutes. Let's stop here and give this a stir. Once the onions are nice and soft, then I'll do the rest of the recipe. All right, so I'm just gonna keep brushing these. Whoop, I broke that one. I was trying not to break them, but I did break that one. I kind of hit it when I was doing that. I have a variety of sizes here, which is good because people who don't want a big one won't eat a big one then. I always make a whole entire tray of these because they're so popular with my family, and they're really good left over. So we will, if there's any left over, which sometimes there's none and sometimes there's a few, we will eat them over the next couple days. Let me tell you, I've woken up the day after holiday. I make them at Christmas time too. Or no, Thanksgiving, excuse me. I make them for Thanksgiving. And I will wake up the day after the holiday looking for them, and somebody else will have already gotten up and eaten them. So that's how popular they are. And they're very, very easy to make, as you can see. Okay, so, all right, so the next thing we're gonna do on this recipe, I'm just gonna move that out of the way for a moment. My fingers are all messy. So we're gonna add these to the middle of this pan. So it starts melting. These are getting nice and brown in here, so that's good. So we wanna melt our cream cheese into here. So if you don't want to do that, you can pop it in the microwave for a minute. Just be careful because when you put cream cheese in the microwave, it splatters and makes a gigantic mess, which is so fun to clean up later. Nobody likes that part. 3 and 1 cup. Okay, so the other thing that goes in here is 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. I always use Romano because that's what I keep in my house. This is, oh, that was just grated a different way. And 2 different kinds of grate in there. And then, all right, so now it's getting nice. I'm gonna turn the heat off of this. Start stirring my cheeses in. This is a vegetarian dish, but it's not vegan because it does have cheese in it. Okay. And then it's also not gluten-free because it's going to get a cup of breadcrumbs. If you have Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, just put those in. If you don't have Italian seasoned, add a couple tablespoons of parsley to your recipe, okay? But since mine already had it in there, I didn't need to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to stir this up real good. And it is going to be kind of dry, which is what it's supposed to be, because when you cook the mushrooms, you know, the cheese is going to come out. It's going to melt in there. So we melted it a little bit in here, but it's going to really melt when you're cooking the mushrooms. And you want it to be easy to fill. So you want it to be kind of dry. Okay. And then what I do is I just grab a regular old teaspoon out of my drawer and I just fill them, okay? And I'm not super picky about how I fill them. I usually kind of just press it down in there real tight, and when I'm done filling all of them, if there's leftover, I go back and I put like a mountain on top of each one, which is what makes them taste so good. So that's it. Then I'm gonna pop them in the oven and cook them until they're brown on the top, which is usually about 15 minutes. So super easy, super delicious. If you'd like the recipe, drop me a note, private message, and I will be happy to send it back to you. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day.